Hey everyone. Hey Push Past 10 Nation. Come on in, check in, post a message, let us know where you're joining us from. Simone here, and as we know, October is quickly approaching, which is Creole Heritage Month for Dominica, St. Lucia. A number of the islands who consider themselves Creole islands observe Creole Heritage Month in October. And as you know, the biggest event for us in Dominica is the World Creole Music Festival. But now we are hearing reports out of St. Lucia that they may be interested in holding a similar event right around the time that Dominica hosts the World Creole Music Festival. So we have questions, we have concerns. We know that you all have questions and concerns, and we actually have the other side of that story, which you will be interested in hearing. So I thought I would invite Mr. Anthony Drygo, the host of This Week in Interview from TDN Radio, TDN Network, to join us so we can just share our concerns, our questions, and of course, our recommendations on this candid conversation. So again, come on in, share the live, let everyone know that we are here. I also included the link to the YouTube channel so you can share it with anyone who is not on Facebook. So let's go ahead and invite Mr. Anthony Drygo to the platform as he says good evening to everyone.
Good evening, Simone. Good evening to your audience and your fan, as you call them, Push Past 10 Nation.
Yep.
It's a pleasure to be on with you. I'm usually on the other side of this scenario, so it's refreshing to be your guest, definitely. So thank you for the invite, and once again, a special good night to all your listeners and viewers.
Yes, and we have DJ Kubuli is the first one to say good night. So good evening, DJ Kubuli. Come on in, guys. Share the live. Let everyone know that we are here for this very important conversation. So I think we've all seen the video of the tourism minister in St. Lucia talking about the festival. But for those of us who have not seen it, I just want to lay the basis of this conversation. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to share that video right now with you so you can have a better understanding of what we are talking about today. And then I will also share a response that we received from the Minister of Tourism, and I want to commend Mema Raphael because she was the one who did something that many of us should do. I think sometimes we get a piece of information and we simply react to it, but she did what many of us should do. She actually reached out to the minister and expressed her concern, and we have his response. So I think that will give us a better opportunity to have a balanced conversation about if this St. Lucia World Creole Music Festival should be seen as a threat to our festival or if it should be seen as an opportunity. So let me go ahead and play the minister's story first.
In responding to concerns about the effect on St. Lucia's Creole heritage activities slated for October, as many St. Lucian patrons of the Dominica Music Festival head there during the same period, Culture and Creative Industries Minister Dr. Ernest Hilaire remained optimistic about the potential of St. Lucia's Creole Heritage Month to become the biggest national festival and attract thousands of visitors to St. Lucia's shores.
But I believe Creole Heritage Month can become even bigger, and certainly the Journée Creole celebration, which is the last weekend, can become our biggest celebration in St. Lucia. But like you said, it coincides with Dominica Music Festival, and for somebody like me, who for the last few years attended every Dominica Music Festival, it's a real difficult situation to be in because, you usually go to Dominica for Creole, for their Creole festival, and now we have Junior Creole in St. Lucia, and I have responsibilities in that regard.
Dr. Hilaire thinks the time has come to brainstorm on ways to grow the Creole Festival. This will call for related agencies like the Cultural Development Foundation, CDF, the Folk Research Center, FRC, and the Events Company to engage in a discussion that is capable of coming up with ideas to outdo their Dominican counterparts.
believe we have the skills, we have the capacity to be even bigger than Dominica. You just have to look at Dominica's lineup for Creole Festival this year, and you can see that they've come all out to make sure
investment.
it's a major. I mean, I know some of the artists that will be performing, and I know what it takes to get them to come to perform. So we now need to sit down and strategize how we're going to maneuver in this regard.
A joint marketing approach so that all the islands involved can enjoy mutual benefits is also an option. For the DBS News World, I'm Don Nicholas.
Yes, so that is what sparked that passionate response. Anthony, I can tell you're ready to carry on that conversation. Do you want to respond now, or do you want to read the response that Mema got from him?
Let's share that as well as we share it. So
Yeah,
it will
so
set the stage, you know?
Yes, let's set the stage. So everybody was in an uproar when they heard that,
Uproar.
and I think it's especially the words that he chose to use. Outdo Dominica
Yeah.
Festival.
Strategize to
Bigger than.
outdo. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. So keep those words in mind. Keep those words in mind now with the outrage that we all felt, because we can see the St. Lucia, our sister island, right? We can see the St. Lucia, our
Oh,
sister
yeah.
island.
Mhm.
So Mema, and I want to thank her again, did an awesome job. She reached out to Minister Ernest Hillier, and she says, hi, sir. I'm pretty disturbed by your revelation that you'd like to compete with our World Creole Music Festival. St. Lucia has an amazing world-class jazz festival. You have your own fantastic carnival. Why do you want to compete with Dominica for Creole Festival? Your economy is solid with lots of visitors, yet you're coming to take on our one event that brings us a steady flow of tourists, World Creole Music Festival. It's hard enough that Barbados took Ross University. Why a fellow sister who we love would want to hurt our economy? And Mrs. Hillier was gracious enough to respond, which I thought was honorable. He says, hi, good day. We actually look to collaborate and cooperate with Dominica. We didn't need another music festival, and will not have one to compete with Dominica. He's speaking out of both sides of his mouth. We are hoping we can do joint marketing to make sure visitors in St. Lucia go over to Dominica to celebrate the festival. We want more St. Lucians to go to Dominica, which means we may have to move our Journée Creole Day celebration. We need to improve our celebration or Creole Heritage Month. There is so much we can do in St. Lucia to celebrate Creole Month. There is so much we can do in St. Lucia to celebrate Creole Month. Imagine Dominican designers coming to St. Lucia to sell clothes. Imagine Dominican vendors send stuff to St. Lucia to sell. There is so much we can get from working. And of course, Mema was very excited. So she says, amazing. Thank you for the wonderful response. I'm looking forward to this collaborative effort, since we consider ourselves sister islands. So Anthony, a lot to unpack. But before we get started, let us just say good evening to everyone joining us on the Facebook Live. Jacelyn Labadie, good to see you. Olivia and Sherwin, Xavier, everyone who's coming in, don't forget to share the live. Anthony, what do you think?
I mean, so many things to unpack, Simone. For those of you that joined a little late, I want to repeat my good night to you and hope that you enjoy the conversation that we are going to have, because those are conversations that are important. There's a number of words that are branded around that evoke emotions. Our sister island, we love, and competition and collaboration. But you know, Simone, my mom had 14 kids. Yes, and my dad had a few more, so I have a bunch of siblings. And so there is something that they call sibling rivalry. So even in your own home, where you grow up, you have rivalry. Your brother that you love dearly, you and him compete or do each other. maybe for the praise of your parents, or for whatever it is. Maybe it might be egoistical, where you want to see your kids do better than your sister kids or your brother kids, and so on. So how much weight does it really carry when we talk about islands being sister islands? I mean, does the sibling rivalry extend between sister islands, so to speak? So the reason why I'm approaching it from that point of view is that I would like to set the premise to say that I don't think anybody opposes the fact that St. Lucia has a right to look out for St. Lucia.
Absolutely.
So in Mema's inquiry to the minister, she said Barbados already took Ross from us. There's debate on that. Did Barbados take Ross from us? Did Barbados catch Ross when we dropped Ross? We don't know, right? I live in the United States. There are 50 states in the United States, and we see competition among those states all the time. There, recently there was a famous activity where Amazon was looking to set up for new location to set up factories, and New York and New Jersey were competing as to where they should house it, and they were throwing all kinds of carrots and incentives for Amazon to come over here instead of coming over there. So competition among otherwise closely linked economies is not anything that is new. And so, as again, set the premise that St. Lucia has a right to do what St. Lucia thinks is best for the St. Lucian economy. So nobody is disputing that. They are both sovereign nations. Also, there are also considerations. Is there room for two festivals? Are they targeting exactly the same market? Does Dominica have an advantage having organized a World Creole Music Festival for the last 25 years? Do we have the advantage of experience? And therefore, what is the barrier to St. Lucia entering the market and really being able to give us competition? So all of those questions, I think, are how, after we get over the response of, like, we felt like it was a kick in the gut to hear, oh, St. Lucia is trying to plan a World Creole Music Festival. They're trying to plan it the same time like ours, and they want to even call it by the same name. St. Lucia, really? Our sister Creole speaking island wants to do that to us. After we get over that initial shock, we have to really sit down and ask some of those questions. And like everything else, when siblings grow up and they have competing interests, the same thing to do is to sit down and try to work it out so that everybody benefits, not fight each other and then you take down and destroy the assets of the family. So similarly, maybe that is where we are. And this conversation, Simone, I think is timely. I congratulate you for approaching it from that point of view, where we can talk about it, encourage people to talk about it. So those are my initial thoughts that I want to put out there to set the stage for how we would approach dealing with such a situation.
Yeah, and thank you for that, Anthony. And Jeffrey Cuffy's locked in. Nice to see you, Jeffrey. Also, Bree Senhouse, my sister. Nice to see you as well. And Anthony, I have to be honest with you, because when I first saw the opera from the Dominica aspects of it, I thought to myself, why the opera? Like, why are we so in anger? And we're calling out St. Lucia like you're supposed to be our sister. And I'm thinking to myself, well, like you said, islands have the right to look out for themselves. And then the other thing that came to my mind is, isn't competition a good thing? That is why we have more than one store, That is why we have many businesses have different, different. You have AT&T, you have Sprint, you have different opportunities. Because in my mind, what competition does is it elevates your approach to excellence. It makes you want to be better. So rather than saying, "Oh my gosh, St. Lucia is going to take the World Creole Music Festival," I think it's an opportunity for us to look at what we're doing in Dominica, and instead of being threatened by St. Lucia, to say to ourselves, "Come and try to take what we have. We will outdo you. We will make it better. What do we still need to improve on?" So that even if you decide to stage your festival, it is not going to outdo Dominica. In my mind, that is the way I saw it, because I'm thinking to myself, why the uproar in terms of St. Lucia? And I think we have to approach things differently, because in the same way we think Barbados took Ross, Barbados didn't took Ross. We created an environment where Barbados had the opportunity to say, "Hey, I can offer you something better." Again, competition. Again, looking at what you're doing in your business that is making it possible for others to enter the market. And I always go back to that coconut cheese example, where people on Facebook were arguing because yet somebody else in the States had decided to make coconut cheese, and we're arguing because, oh, Dominica is a small population, and why would somebody else want to make coconut cheese? Why not just support this person? And I'm thinking to myself, no, that's the wrong approach. Everyone should make coconut cheese, but my coconut cheese should be so outstanding that your coconut cheese, Anthony, cannot see the light of day. People are going to come back to me all the time for my coconut cheese because yours is not as good. So I think I'm taking it from a different approach from a lot of what I'm seeing in terms of the responses on Facebook.
So I agree with you, Simone. Why is the reaction one that seems to be centered on fear rather than opportunity? That is one thing. And as you said, competition forces us to do better. Mm-hmm. And so one of the other emotions that this thing should evoke in us is to examine what have we done with the World Creole Music Festival in the last 25 years that we've had the World Creole Music Festival. Have we sufficiently branded that festival in that genre of music so that when someone thinks World Creole Music Festival, they think Dominica?
Right.
Can you imagine another island being able to compete with Jamaica with a reggae festival? Mm-hmm. That even if they are bigger, say you take Puerto Rico or Cuba, and they say, "Oh, we have a reggae festival, and we're going to put it at the same time as Reggae Sunsplash." Mm-hmm. You will get laughed at. You know, if Jamaica has Reggae Sunsplash at that time, and you're going to do a reggae festival at the same time. We had a 25-year period of organizing the World Creole Music Festival, and if we feel now that because St. Lucia is announcing that they want to do it as well, do we really think that we've done enough with the World Creole Music Festival that seems to be a threat to us? So, for example, St. Lucia has the St. Lucia Jazz Festival. Do you really think that Dominica can stage a jazz festival at the same time as St. Lucia and really compete with St. Lucia right off the bat? St. Lucia has established themselves as where you go in the Caribbean for jazz. And so anybody who comes to compete with St. Lucia will know that there's that entry, that barrier to entry into that jazz festival market that St. Lucia has set. So you better stay away from that summer when St. Lucia has it and keep yours in February or some other time so that you don't compete. So, as you said, competition in that sense should force us to look at what we've done with the World Creole Music Festival. Have we done enough that after 25 years, Dominica is sufficiently branded to the concept of a Creole music festival that anybody else that wants to do that would have to think twice.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the minister hinted that in the recording that he played. He said, when you look at the lineup that Dominica has and of artists, you know that to top Dominica, you have to come really good. We have to really sit down and strategize how we can outdo. So probably the answer to my question is yes, that Dominica has done enough. But if the answer to that question is yes, why the opera? Maybe with St. Lucia promoting a Creole music festival, it's going to do Dominica good, because more people will know that there's a World Creole Music Festival, and it's going to pop up that Dominica has had a killer festival for the last 25 years. If you want an experience, go to Dominica for World Creole Music Festival. And so St. Lucia's festival will mostly be for St. Lucians who cannot afford or who cannot get time off to travel to Dominica. But the vast majority of people who can travel will go to Dominica for the festival. So I am agreeing with you that if we approach it from a positive point of view and we see competition as an incentive to raise our game, to raise our level, then it could be a silver lining in the cloud, because maybe we were becoming complacent, and that is the kick that we need in the butt to make us appreciate it and enhance it.
Yeah, and let me add on another layer to this discussion, Anthony, because think about it. Different islands have carnival in the same month. I looked it up, and July is jam-packed. You have carnival in St. Vincent, you have carnival in Jamaica, you have carnival in St. Lucia, Jersey City, Atlantic City, Toronto, Caymans, and Montreal.
All in July.
All in July. So what does that say to us? And they're not concerned. And I'm just going to focus on the two smaller islands, St. Vincent and St. Lucia, who are pretty much neighbors. They both have carnival in July, right? July. But because they have distinguished their products, people are going to go to St. Lucia and people are going to go to St. Vincent. So I just was kind of perturbed when I realized people were in such an uproar when St. Lucia announced that it may do a Creole festival. But it's interesting that in his response, he's talking about collaboration, because what came to mind is, well, the devil is in the details. How would that even be feasible, right? Would Dominicans, for example, have to get work permits to go over to St. Lucia for the festival to be able to sign? He's talking about having designers come over to. So how exactly would that operate?
Well, with CARICOM, with the agreements that we have with CARICOM, and we have agreements in the OECS as well, there's freedom of movement of the workforce and goods and services within the sub-region. So I think there's infrastructure for that. But having said that, we've seen cases come before the Caribbean Court of Justice where that is not implemented, and people have challenged that they go to islands and they're being forced to not work, or they're being denied access to work and so on. And so while it may not be practiced, the framework already exists for there to be freedom of movement and goods. And that brings us to the point, again, with that announcement by St. Lucia, it should provide an opportunity for us to have that discussion as to how can we truly implement that philosophy, that belief that we as a sub-region should be able to move freely and work in different jurisdictions without having to have the hassle of applying for work permits. So maybe St. Lucia has, as the minister said, if people from Dominica can come to St. Lucia and sell their wares, people from St. Lucia can come to Dominica, that provides an avenue for that increased collaboration that we should have, because I truly, truly believe that the way forward for our people, the OECS and a tighter circle, but for the wider CARICOM, is to collaborate and try to approach world issues collectively rather than individually. So, yeah, I hear what he says, although he seems to be talking from both sides of his mouth. If he's serious about collaboration, and Dominica can provide a serious counterpart, there is an opportunity there for those two island sisters to sit down and to see how can we benefit, both of us benefit, because St. Lucia is Creole, Dominica is Creole. It's not fair for St. Lucia to put their festival on the same weekend as Dominica's festival, but it's not fair that Dominica gets the lion's share of the Creole visitors' pie, so to speak. So how can they sit down and strategize collaboration rather than competition, as was suggested in the video by that minister?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think what is important at this point, and I want to hear from the Facebook audience, is our recommendations. What can be done to make sure that when people think of Creole Festival, they only think of Dominica? So now we're no longer seeing St. Lucia as a threat to potentially come in and take over the World Creole Music Festival, because they have a right, if they choose to, host the festival at that time of the year, to host it at that time of the year. There's absolutely nothing that can be done to stop them if you think about it. But what is going to elevate us even beyond where we are to ensure that that stream of income, that stream of revenue comes to us? But before we do, and I'm looking forward to your recommendations on the Facebook Live, let's just make sure we acknowledge everyone who's joining us. Eagle Mike, good evening. Mary Benjamin, great to see you. Absolutely, we can do better. I agree, Mary. My mom, Medina Senhouse, good to see you. Let's see, Charles, Samantha, thank you for being here. Eagle Mike says we need to learn how to compete. If not, we will lose everything. I so agree. Emma Frederick, good evening, everyone. I'm listening. A Facebook user says, hey, Simone, hey, Tony. Ernest Leighton says, good topic. And a Facebook user says, good topic. And that is I think my most important takeaway, Anthony, is our fear of competition, right? Our fear of always looking over our shoulder for what the next person is going to do, rather than building our own brands, so that there's no possibility of someone else coming in and taking what we're doing. That is always my concern. Why are we so fearful of competition?
Because we don't have the confidence in our ability. That's the short answer, right?
Mm-hmm.
Do we perceive that there's a limited market out there? So, for example, the example you gave on Carnival comes to mind because nobody feels threatened, because everybody feels like we have a share of the market that's adequate for us, and there's room for everybody to grow. So for example, does Dominica sell out World Creole Music Festival every night, every year? And if Dominica sells out World Creole Music Festival every night, every year, there are people who want to go to a music festival that cannot go because all the tickets are sold. All the season tickets are sold. All the nightly tickets are sold. There are no more tickets. We fill to capacity. We feel, this year, for example, there's a struggle for accommodations in Dominica. Our hotels and our community hostings and all of those things seems to be bursting at the seams. There's a scramble for where people can stay when they get to Dominica. So if we're at capacity in our hotels, and we had capacity in our ticket sales, and during the day we are at capacity with people buying foods at restaurants and those sort of things, there is excess in the market that St. Lucia can take up some of that slack. And so in marketing, there's a strategy in marketing where like having like goods next to each other actually enhances everybody. So you in the US, when you pass on a strip where there's one car dealership, you hardly see a car dealership in isolation by itself. You
Right.
see a string of car dealerships. You see it in supermarkets. When you go to the mall, all the jewelry stores are grouped together. There are certain products that benefit from being right next to their competition, because people know that if I'm going to shop for a car, I can go on that 1 mile stretch and there are 5 car dealerships in a row. So if I don't get at one, I can go to the next and to the next and so the market comes and everybody sells more cars because everybody's attracted to the area because competing companies are situated next to each other. Can St. Lucia and Dominica collaborate on marketing where it becomes a thing that at that time of the year, you have Creole festivities happening in the sub-region.
Yeah,
And so you can go to
tour of Creole, a tour of
Exactly.
Creole.
And this year you go to St. Lucia and you experience St. Lucia. Next year you go to Dominica and you experience Dominica. And the next year maybe you do the festival in St. Lucia and you come to Dominica for its food and you mix and match and it will be just a matter of working out logistics, make sure you have the ferries organized to transport people from between the islands. And so the joint marketing can be a benefit for both islands. So definitely, Simone, the idea of approaching it not from a position of fear, but from a position of mutual benefit. And to go back to the analogy that I gave earlier, where you've experienced where siblings fight over the assets of the family, it usually doesn't end well for anybody in the family. Usually they have to sell the assets and split money and they sell it at a loss and all kinds of stuff. If it's a business, the business runs out. The coolie, as we say in Dominica, just because they cannot come together and pool their resources and push it together. And I feel that there is a similar opportunity there for St. Lucia and Dominica to sit down across the table and have serious and candid conversation.
Anthony,
St.
one
Lucia
second. I also invited Alex Bruno to the conversation. So let me just bring him in as well. Hey, Alex, thank you for joining us.
Mr. Powell, it's good to
Yes,
see you.
yes, the Creole man himself. So, Alex, you can see the title. We're just talking about if St. Lucia has a Creole music festival, is it an opportunity or a threat for Dominica? So, Anthony, finish your points.
Yeah, Alex, good to see you, my brother. It's been a while.
Pleasure, man. Nice to see you, Anthony.
But I see you all the time, but not where we can talk to each other because you're a celebrity and a political prominent figure in Dominica now.
I'm happy you took some time to be with us.
Exactly. So the point I was making is that it might be an opportunity for Dominica and St. Lucia to look for ways to collaborate rather than to think about it as competition, because they can sit across the table and St. Lucia can tell Dominica, what gives you the right to think that the biggest portion of the pie should be yours? And we are also Creole. We also have a Creole heritage. And Dominica will say, but St. Lucia, you have more stuff going on in your economy than us. Why do you want to cut that slice of the pie, which is the biggest thing that we have?
Honestly, should St. Lucia really be concerned about our pie?
Well, I'm saying if you sit down at the table and negotiate, then both people have to put together what is in the best interest of each other.
Right.
And in the spirit of collaboration, both have to give some so that in the end, both elevate. As opposed to St. Lucia saying, well, do you, I do mine. I have an international airport. It's easier for people to get to me than to get to you. So good luck. And Dominica says, well, we've been doing this for 25 years. We have a lock on some of the bigger artists. We have a lock on the Guadeloupe and the marketing people coming to us. Good luck. Let's see how long it will take you before you make a profitable competition. And we can turn our backs, walk our separate ways, and go try to take it down. where now we have to compete on price, we have to compete on incentives. We have artists playing us against each other. This artist says, I want 100,000, St. Lucia offer them 125, Dominica offers them 150. And both islands can spiral downwards, as opposed to coming together and say, okay, we both can have a festival. Let's see how we can do it so that we benefit mutually. We agree not to compete on artists. We sit down and both of us decide which artist is going to St. Lucia, which artist is going to Dominica, and we cooperate on that kind of level so that we eliminate a lot of those potential crowd fighting that could result if we just look for what is best for us.
Yeah, and I'm coming to you, Alex. But before we do, and Anthony, what I found interesting in what the video of the minister, and I know you have to leave in a little bit. What I found interesting is how the joint marketing. It almost sounded like an afterthought. Did you get that sense? So the salient points were bigger than Dominica, outdo Dominica, and then by the way, we can have some joint marketing. It felt like an afterthought, and in my mind, it didn't sound genuine. It just sounded like, by the way, in case Dominica is listening, let me just insert something to say, we're willing to work with Dominica.
And I agree. And also, the thing in it is that it sounded like it's a decision that has already been made, because he says, I am in a difficult position where, because I go to the festival all the time, but now I will not be able to go to the festival because we're planning our own. I'm paraphrasing, of course. But somebody says something like that, tells you that they already made the decision, and maybe it just to try to save face and to slide it in. He's talking about possibly collaborating.
Yeah, and it also begs the question, why was he going to the festival for all those years? Was it really to celebrate with us, or was he taking notes?
I'll let Alex answer that one.
Yes, Alex, jump in. So thank you for joining us, Alex. Bruno, everybody knows you, no introduction needed. So we're just curious. I'm assuming you've seen the video that caused quite a stir with Dominicans with regards to the Minister of Tourism in St. Lucia talking about potentially having a Creole music festival. And I don't think at this point it's a potential, guys. I think, like Anthony has said, that decision has already been made, and he's just putting out a statement about it. But I think we should expect to see that festival come next year. So Alex, we just wanted to get a sense of your thoughts about that particular video, and if we should see there's an opportunity to improve our festival. Should we embrace the competition, or should we see it as a threat?
Wow, well, that's very interesting, and I'm in agreement with Tony's analysis of things. I think every time a new product emerges, especially one which mirrors yours, it should be an opportunity for you to check yourself to see what you would have done wrong or what you could do better. The fact that St. Lucia is bold enough to suggest a Creole festival to coincide with Dominica's Creole festival after a quarter of a century suggests one of two things. Either St. Lucia knows something that we do not know, or St. Lucia is so confident that they can just present a product identical to ours right next to the shores and get through. So that also begs a bigger question as to where did we go wrong in terms of our CARICOM relation? I mean, how did we fail to communicate minister to minister, prime minister to prime minister, culture minister to culture minister? Because there's no way a full nation, a sister nation, is going to plan something so big in culture in Creole, and the, so to speak, brother sister country who has been doing it for so long does not know. So there might have been a sort of miscommunication. Also, it could be a hoopsewe that the Caribbean countries normally play against each other. We try to outdo each other instead of working with each other. So let's see this one as an opportunity to work together. Although it may be an afterthought on the part of the minister, but our minister should respond and say, well, I heard what you said, and let's speak. We have some time to talk, and probably the first thing we can do in the spirit of compromise is that you move your festival to the summer and keep that traditional dates that we have had for 25 years free. So you have yours, we have ours, we cross promote, we benefit each other. You have an international gateway, we can benefit from that. we can tag you on with our international promotion as we did. So I think there's room for negotiation. But I get a sense that the minister in St. Lucia, I'm not sure whether he is all but done, but the way in which he speaks, he says he's saying things which suggest that either this thing is above him, or there is very little room, wriggle room in the for negotiation. And that is what I think our minister, our prime minister, our technocrats, our director of events must seek to do. Say, St. Lucia, okay, it appears as if you want to do this thing. We cannot tell you cannot do it because we don't own Creole. No one owns Creole. Creole begin, well, we know the history of Creole. So yes, you want to do this, but probably we can have an advice for you. Probably we can work together because we are too small. St. Lucia has 100 and something thousand. Dominica has maybe half of that. So if we come together, we have 250,000 people probably, and I can come to you, to your event, you can come to my event. So when I come with my Dominica flag. And when you come with your St. Lucia flag. But for that to happen, we can have it on the same date. So please rethink or do it, but do it during the summertime or sometime not in November, not in October, to give the artists and the people enough space between both events. I think that has to happen. And if it happened in the true spirit of compromise, I do not see why both Dominica and St. Lucia cannot make some money on our Creole culture. I don't see it as a competition at all. I see it as probably something that is probably a blessing in disguise. Because Simone and Anthony, Dominica's festival is good. It's exciting, but I think the essence of our festival, what the festival was designed for originally, has been lost to an extent in terms of the actual promotion of the craft of the artist, of the product. Where's Musicanu? Where has it gone? Where is the symposium? The Creole International Symposium we had before as part of the festival. And the craft part, which Flo has been doing for a while, but it's pretty much left on Flo to do. So I think we as a people can do more to enhance our festival. And I hope St. Lucia's plan is a warning shot in the air, and that we have to go back to the drawing board and make this thing more inclusive. And quickly, before I turn it back to you, enough Dominicans are not going to the festival. Why? Because the festival is too expensive for the locals. The cost I hear this year of the festival pretty much tells me that I cannot go and take my wife because it's going to be probably $1,000 for both of us to attend that night. And if I meet Anthony and we have a drink, it's going to be more. If we go to VIP, it's even more. So I think what we should do is make the festival affordable to every Dominican. Give us a month, give us a rate, $100 for a season ticket, and have at least 15,000 Dominicans get season tickets. So we own the festival. And because the cost of the festival is determined by who? So let Dominicans, let more of us see the festival, be owners of the festival, subscribers to the festival. So that 15, let's say if you put that at $100, I think maybe another 10,000 people more. That is $10,000. That's $30,000 that you can have more in your revenue. So I think the festival is not priced for the average man in Dominica. Probably this price for the friends and the people who go to festivals. But you have to get the average person come in, and how you get them is by giving them a price, especially in this economy, that they can afford. And I think $100 for the season would make a difference in at least 10,000, 15,000 maybe Dominicans mind. Because this is a lovely festival this year. I mean, the lineup is great. We're coming back after 2 years. I think we should give our people something after a quarter century of festivals. That is my overall view on it.
Yeah, thank you for that. Anthony, I know you have to head out. You have any final thoughts for us?
Yeah, well, I agree with what Alex said. When Alex talked about what happened in CARICOM, collaboration is the key word. That if Dominica and St. Lucia had been collaborating on other areas, I know we have supposed to have collaboration on things like telecommunication. We share a currency. If Dominica and St. Lucia have been working on collaboration in different areas, it would have been easy for the two ministers to have that come up, even in casual conversation. Hey, boss, you know we have this thing coming up, and we know you have, and it comes up. But this is an indication that there is not enough talk between the islands. Everybody is paddling their own canoe, and nobody is going anywhere. anywhere fast. St. Lucia has World Heritage Month. The month of October in St. Lucia is World Heritage Month. The last Sunday in St. Lucia is Journée Creole. The last Friday in October in Dominica is Journée Creole. That is how the clash is happening. I don't know how long ago St. Lucia started doing October as Creole, not just Heritage Month, it's Creole Heritage Month. I don't know how long they've started doing that, but they did do it because they came to Dominica and see the Dominican model.
Well, let me help you with that answer, because somebody on Facebook actually answered that question for us. Imana Jeffers, she says, let's not forget that Creole celebration concept started in St. Lucia and Dominica collaborated with them to bring it down here. Collaboration has historically benefited us. So we're happy Imana gave us that answer. Thank you. Go ahead, Anthony.
So if that's the case, and St. Lucia, whoever it is, started first and called it the month of October Creole Heritage Month in St. Lucia, Dominica did the World Creole Music Festival because traditionally, so I don't 100%, I don't know the history of what Imani is saying, but I know that Dominica traditionally pays a lot of homage to our culture leading up to our independence celebration, which is on the 3rd of November. And so Creole Day was made to precede that. We had the cultural gala, we had all of the competitions around our culture happening in October, leading up to the 3rd of November, where we have the culmination of Independence Day. The day before that is the parade and so on. So it was natural that Dominica has October as the month when, and it's historical, where most of our cultural music and our dress and so on happens in October. St. Lucia's independence is in February. Okay? So I don't know. I mean, it doesn't say that just because Dominica tied the independence celebration, that St. Lucia should do the same. But I'm saying that's the rationale why Dominica's own is right there, and it would be difficult for Dominica to move it away from there, because historically we've always built up towards 4th of November with a lot of emphasis on culture, our dances, our court, all of those things happen in October traditionally. So that's why I'm saying that a conversation between the two islands could happen where we look at the calendar, what's happening in the calendar in the region. There's Carnival, there is this festival in that island, there's that festival in that island. Where on the calendar can we fit our activities? And it so happens that Dominica and St. Lucia coincides. The same Creole weekend in Dominica, the same Creole weekend in St. Lucia. Journée Creole is a Sunday, ours is a Friday. So we have some realities in front of us that we have to face. And as mature adults, the idea is that we should sit down with each other with an understanding that both of us have our interests that we have to protect and safeguard for the benefit of our people and our country, and work out what we think would be a mutually beneficial arrangements between the two islands. That is the truth. That is the candid and real reality that we face. And hopefully we do have mature leaders in both islands that can sit at a table and negotiate as adults, understanding that together we can both rise, apart we can both fall. Mm-hmm. And that's what I would say to that.
Yeah, thank you for that, Anthony. And I know you have to head out, but I think what you're saying also is there's a bigger lesson to be learned, because, why are we not even speaking to each other? Why aren't we even consulting a general calendar to say, well, you know what, maybe it's not the best idea to try to put this exactly when Dominica is having its celebration as well. But again, because that weekend is the culmination of their Creole month, then in their mind it makes more sense. So it kind of just tells us the true relationships that exist between the islands, because here we are walking around calling each other sister islands, and then, I always say love is a verb. It's what you do that tells somebody if you truly love them. It's not the words you speak, it's the actions that you take. But again, I believe in competition.
Simon, before I go, I see a very important point being made
Yes, and I'm
by a
coming to
Facebook
the
user.
Facebook posts. Uh-huh.
There's one person, the person said one word, trademark. Has Dominica trademarked and copyrighted World Creole Music
Okay, I'm
Festival
going to Alex for
after
that one.
25 years? And if we have not, and we left the door open for somebody else to come and name a festival the same thing like ours, Balpoino,
Yeah,
you snooze, you lose,
Yep, absolutely.
But Simon, I'm going to take your answer to that, and I have to run as we indicated
Yes.
before. I want to tell listeners, thank you so much for the interaction. And Simon, thanks for inviting me. I look forward to the next invitation. I'm inviting myself back. I'm looking forward to the next invitation to come on. Alex, it's great to share the media with you.
Yes, anytime, Anthony. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yes, have a good rest of the evening.
You too. Thanks.
Yeah, so Alex, take it away. Have we copyrighted World Creole Music Festival? So that's an excellent point. Are you muted? You're muted. Uh-oh, why are you muted? Try to unmute again. You're muted, Alex. Uh-oh. I'm trying to unmute you, but I
can hear you. I just can't hear Alex.
Yeah, he's muted for some reason.
Okay, it's better now?
Yes, there you go. There you go. Thank you.
There you go.
All right. So I cannot answer the question about the trademark. I can only hope that we were savvy enough and forward thinking enough to trademark the Dominica World Creole Music Festival. And by so doing, make it a prototype. So let's hope that our authorities would have done that before. The other thing is, it appears as if we are not respected too much as a nation. Although there is this little insular competitive nature among sister islands, which has been the case since we actually tried to have had this referendum, this Federation, West Indies Federation 1958-62, which didn't happen. It didn't happen because of egos. So there is a sort of egoistic tendency that runs through the Caribbean. There is, no two ways about it. Where certain nations think they're bigger than others, and some think that some are more affluent than others. And I think that same tendency continues. And it is a little bit surprisingly bizarre that St. Lucia, who actually pioneered a lot of the folk Creole activities through the Folk Research Center. I remember going to St. Lucia, interviewing Cécile Descartes and other people. So they have done good by Creole, but the celebration in October leading up to our independence was not done by St. Lucia before we were doing it. Our Journée Creole and all of that was done by Dominica first. So let's not even argue who came first or who came second. We're both Creole countries, so we can both do things. But to place an event tentatively on the dates that our event is stretching it a bit. I mean, it reminds me of us losing Ross. Didn't we know we were losing Ross? Couldn't our sister island speak to us? Couldn't we do something to save face? I mean, we as Dominicans woke up yesterday, we had Ross last night, next morning we do not have Ross. So how many more of those situations we are going to have to bear? How much disrespected are we in the Caribbean? Is that the case? So if it's not the case, something should happen. Our people who lead the affairs of our country should speak to us and at least do something. Why can't we create something that's going to be better than any other country in the Caribbean? So, okay, and Barbados had University of the West Indies for as long as we have had Ross. We lose Ross to them. Why can't we create something that they do not have or take something from them that they do have? Are we able to compete? So these are the questions which comes to me as a Dominican first, as a Caribbean person. I still believe it is possible to negotiate. Say, St. Lucia, man, what you doing? Go behind closed doors and speak, guys. Talk to each other over a drink, over lunch, over dinner. And say, you cannot want to do that to our sovereign nation with the climax of our independence celebration. How would you like it if I had done that to coincide with something that you are doing? This is St. Lucia Jazz.
Mm-hmm.
We have been having jazz. We have our little jazz on us. When do we have it in May?
Yeah, around that time, Jazz and
We didn't,
Creole.
yeah, we didn't seek to conflict with the St. Lucia Jazz because we love St. Lucia Jazz. We got to St. Lucia for jazz. So why do this? Why do it to us? So somebody really need to speak. Our people need to speak to their people and say, man, let's fix this. Have your Creole thing, but do it on your independence. Will help you to show you how to do it, and let our independence stay as our independence.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's what has to happen. As Anthony has been saying, as I'm saying now, we need to talk. And why are we only learning that from the St. Lucians? Why couldn't somebody say that to us before? Didn't they know that the St. Lucians were planning this? So there are a number of questions we could ask as a nation. And based on the history of dealings with the Caribbean and our other sister islands, it wouldn't be out of order for Dominicans to start asking questions and start thinking and start demanding that the authorities answer certain questions. And I hope people would not think it is politics or partisanship. No, it is just a thing that we have to do to defend our turf and to ask questions of our authorities and to seek to continue to make a living, a decent living in our country, even while we respect and support the sovereignty of our sister islands. So these are a few of the questions. I hope it is trademarked. And should we even have to trademark it if we can get along? I do not know, Simon. So I think you need to get the people from the FC and government to ask them that question and see where it goes. And they should answer that question. They should. They must answer that question, Simon.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so thank you, Alex. Some very good points. So let's take some comments before we wrap up. And we want to thank everyone who joined us on the Facebook and the YouTube Live. Thank you for being here and making such valuable contributions to the discussion. Mary Benjamin, competition is a good thing. We just need to have confidence to learn to grow better. Bree Senhouse, my sister, asks a very good question. Has the festival been making a profit after all these years? Does anyone know? So, Alex, I don't know if you have the answer to that one. Eric Carbon, fair enough, it's open season, open competition. Okay, let's start by targeting all agricultural markets held by St. Lucia and outcompete them by quantity and price. You know we can do this. Let's host our own jazz festival. While we are at it, hurry with the international airport. We need to attract those flights to Dominica instead of St. Lucia. Maybe let's rebrand Twapiton National Park as the original Pitons. Let's compete. We don't need to collaborate. Winner takes all. Let's go, DA. Okay, so some valid points there. Mary Benjamin says hi to you. So kind of just take notes, Alex, in terms of what you want to respond to. Jonas Antwine, it can be a good thing. A Facebook user says competition is good. If any other island wants to have a Creole festival, let them. That's how I feel too. Let's see who else we have. Jonas, that right there, the money thing is what sometimes causes artists to have exposure to other islands and get business. Let's see who else we have. Clyde Gregoire. Once you have a good product, then you should not fear competition. However, it's unfair if the St. Lucia minister is serious of using the same name as Dominica production, for it appears like a sort of jealousy unless there is a plan to sell it, like we lost Ross University just like that. Snap and Laura, great to see you. He says, Alex, I agree with you, everything you said. Clyde, politicians these days are lazy and behave like parasites. Marianne, they can't use the name or time. A Facebook user says that's a good suggestion, Alex, but how will the festival pay for their 500,000 artists? Abiel Charles agrees. Kathy Robinson says, Sam Hill, I agree. Our festival has already made its reputation. Look at this year's sellout. I believe the only threat to our festival is whether the organizers fail on keeping its level of excellence. We have a mindset that only one thing should exist, It doesn't necessarily have to be. Both have coexisted this far and continue to do so. Each festival brings its unique festival features and vibes. By the way, Sam Hill, good evening to you. Thank you for being here. Kathy says, we did not patent the name, therefore we cannot call unfair. That's marketing. Whether we like it or not, new entrants will always swing on the coattails of successful ventures. And Sam says exactly, Kathy Robinson. And of course, we're talking about if it's copyrighted. So some very good points. Jonas, maybe they were thinking since one island is having Creole Day, let them do the same thing following day, but would be good to invite the other island artists to come also. Bree Senhouse, I don't think the issue is the name of the festival, though. The issue is them creating a like product or maybe an even better product. Air access, accommodations, fringe events, etc. all come into play. The World Creole Music Festival should be all over social media right now. Influencers from all over the world should be contracted to this. Sue Francis, good to see you. Carlos Charles, oh, great to see you, Carlos Charles. Big up, Mr. Bruno, nice topic. Bree Senhouse, do we even have festival merchandise or website? Carlos Charles, our festival needs some more branding work. We will be fine. More core marketing to target areas at the appropriate times and we good. We also need to talk to our sister islands, as Alex was saying. So great recommendations, Alex. Great recommendations, suggestions. Anything you want to comment on?
Well, the idea of the artist exchange could be a good strategic ploy to negotiate with the St. Lucians because they're going to do the event. I think they're going to do the event. I heard the minister was talking about Calypso as a major part of the festival. If the St. Lucians coming from major segment for Calypso, I think they're going to be very attractive. So we say, okay, well, guys, let's do it. Let's exchange artists because we have artists, Creole artists, in abundance. In fact, our music sometimes is even more popular in St. Lucia than in Dominica. Groovers, Exile One, Gramax, Bell Combo, Below Men. I guarantee you that. So we say, look, we can give you all-star groups. We can give you an all-star classic Below Men, an all-star. We can give you an all-star Cadence Calypso group as a feature of your festival every year. But you cannot go on the same date with us because we need our artists in Dominica to do our thing. So you use those things as negotiation tools to negotiate with St. Lucians. They can have their event, but do it in August, do it in February, and we will give you the support the same way you give us the support. So that is a point that can be dropped in terms of the negotiation. In terms of the competition, it is necessary. Competition sharpens you, it makes you or it breaks you. I think it is necessary and healthy, but the way in which St. Lucia came out with theirs suggests that there was a little shabby treatment. There was a surprise element based on we the people. That's what we think. We shouldn't be surprised by St. Lucia doing an event like this. We should be part of it. We should co-own it with St. Lucia. And the one of the biggest thing I think that can happen for our event or festival is that the authorities should open ownership of the festival and deliver it to the people. I talk about giving people a price that they can afford to pay, but also let people own it. I feel as if the festival has been going further and further away from the average person. And that's coming from someone who was one of the originals in terms of the festival.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, I was probably the first press coordinator of Dominica's Creole Music Festival, probably, if not the first. I had been involved in the seminars and workshops that the festival had been doing. And I was certainly an original host of the festival for a number of years until I think the dynamics changed in terms of the politics and I was taken out. No, I'm not advocating for me to be on, but I'm speaking with first-hand experience in terms of how I think we have pulled resources away, human resource away from the festival. Yes, we have wonderful hosts right now, but it would be my joy and pleasure to host Dominica's biggest event or anybody who think that they can host to host. And the question is why for a decade that somebody like me has not been able to host? Is it because I do not want to? No. Why hasn't Gordon Henderson, the pioneer of Calypso being a permanent fixture of the festival of sorts in some way or the other. And other artists who complain. Are we seeing a sort of partisanship shaping the products that we have had in Dominica for 25 years now? I'm not saying so. So these are the questions we have to ask. This should not be a matter of who is in office or who is not. It should be a matter of any and every Dominican claiming the event. So I think we have to do that as well. Make it a truly Dominica event where every Dominican feel as if they own a share in the event. And the share we can own is you give us the event as 50%. 50%. Give us 1 month, not 1 weekend or 24 hours. Give us a whole month to plan. 50% for every Dominican. And after that, you can go up regularly. We won't have much to say. So I think that is how you own ownership. And you can sell it to the Dominicans as you part owning the event by getting 50%. And that is one of the things I think you can do to excite participation and to get more Dominicans speaking up and defending our event. Because the Creole Music Festival is a Dominica event. Even if we love St. Lucia, we're going to work with them. But come on, this is a Dominica thing, and we all must stand. And I'm defending it too, even if I'm not on it. But I will do what it takes to defend this event and to help to promote it. I wish I had the opportunity to promote it. I'm in Miami here. It would be my joy to do it for my country and my government.
Yeah, because I think we see a lot of promotions in the French islands, but I haven't really heard of promotions beyond that. And Snapper says, great point, Alex. And Bree Senhouse says, oh, Alex, I miss you as a host for Calypso Finals. Just saying, I do too. Just to put it out there, I do miss you as a host. Alex, you always brought, humor, energy, and everything else, and the change of outfits was always the best.
Wardrobe and passion for the thing is not. That's not a. It's a joke, but it's not a joke.
Yes.
When we do these events,
you made it very entertaining. You brought the energy. So I want to thank you for joining us, Alex. I know it was last minute. I sent you a message and you quickly responded. So thank you for being here. Thank you, everyone, for the comments and the questions that you brought to the conversation. We have a lot to talk about. And I think the most important thing for me in terms of my final words is that we should not be afraid of competition. I think we spend too much time and energy being afraid of competition when what we should be doing is building our own brand, building our own businesses so that when competition does come, and how do we innovate? How do we improve? How do we keep pushing forward? How are we using influencers? How are we targeting other markets beyond the French markets? Because let's face it, is it really still a World Creole Music Festival when we have a whole bunch of Jamaicans and other artists? So maybe we need to be targeting beyond the French audience to ensure that we continue to grow, we continue to innovate, so that when competition does come, because it will come, we have no concerns. So let's take some final comments. Eagle Mike says, it doesn't matter how they came out, we just need to get our house in order. St. Lucia have to do their stuff. And he says, blessing, Jonas, Antoine, I'm watching from Parrish, Florida. Nice to see you. And I think that is Sam. It keeps saying Facebook user, but I want to say that is Sam George. Let me see. Yes, I'm not sure why it's saying Facebook user. No, they rely on Discover Dominica website. Is that enough? So, Alex, your final words. And again, thank you for joining us.
Well, my final words would be to thank you, Simone, for giving me an invite. I had to make a drastic change of my schedule.
Oh, thank you. I'm so sorry. Last minute.
To be on for you. I actually had to pick up my daughter from dance. But that's okay. Simone, I will respond to you at any time.
Thank you.
With a minute's notice because of the value that I think you have added to my life, the quality of friend that you have been to me, and what I think you're trying to do. I will always be there to support you in any way, shape, or form. So just let me know. And that will be my last words for today. I'm looking forward to doing it again with you whenever you think I can be of service to you and to our country. And just keep on doing what you're doing. I wish you well. I wish you good health and long life, success and happiness.
Thank you, Alex. Thank you so much for always being a steadfast friend. So everyone, thank you for being here again. I am Simone Matthew. This is Push Past 10. This is another candid conversation where we come together and share our questions, our concerns, and our recommendations. Thank you for being here. Don't forget to follow Push Past 10, click the notification button, and continue to share. I'm so grateful everyone continues to share the program. And I always keep forgetting to mention the folks who are watching us privately. So I know there are many people, for whatever reason, they choose to not be seen on the Facebook Live, and that is completely fine with me, as long as you continue watching and supporting the program and sharing the program. I want to say thank you as well for being here privately. Alex, why do you think people do that?
Incognito, I do not know. Because even for me and my lives, I have 15, 17, 18 people.
Yes.
And by the time I'm done the program,
Yes.
I'm seeing 200, 300 views. I'm like, how is that possible that you had 17, 20 on and you have 200?
And I know it happens because people meet me all the time and they say, oh, I watch your program. I say, I've never seen your name on my program. They're like, don't worry, I'm watching you.
That is so true. That is so true.
So I just thought I would take a minute to thank them, even if they're incognito. Thank them for watching as well. Janine Perez, Positive Vibes. Thank you guys for being here. So again, until the next program, you have yourself a wonderful and pleasant evening. Alex, thank you again.
Cheers.
All right, take care, guys. Bye-bye.